Well, I hope you guys had as much fun listening to the first season of the PLANTSTRONG podcast as much as I did hosting it. I loved interviewing all of the guests, and I absolutely cherished coaching Joe Inga, our Bronx firefighter, from a overweight couch potato to a sweet potato triathlete in under 6 months. It was an absolute joy. So this bonus episode, it's a candid conversation that I recently had with a gentleman named Scott Battishill. Scott is one of the producers of the PLANTSTRONG podcast, and he is the founder of a company called 10% Media. And they have dedicated their resources and expertise in brand building to help elevate specifically plant-based companies and get them noticed in the marketplace. It's big and exciting work, and Scott is an absolute gem to work with. Before we kick off this episode, I want to read a note that I received from one of our listeners. Rip, our household listens to your podcast, and a few years ago used your first book to start our adventure into plant-based living. I just wanted to drop a line of thanks for introducing the Nutri-Milk into our kitchen and our lives. Not only does the milk taste better than what we were buying at the store, but we also get to skip a bunch of the ingredients that we clearly didn't need in our plant-based milk. As a Canadian, your coupon saved us the international shipping fee, and it was a nice surprise not to pay duties to the delivery driver at the door. Keep doing what you do, and a special thanks to you and your team for sharing it with us. Lynn McGregor. Lynn, I want you to know how thrilled I am that you're enjoying your Nutri-Milk. And if you, the listener, would like one at home, visit thenutrimilk.com and use the code PLANTSTRONG for $50 off and free shipping. Now, let's jump in.
Here we sit in the beautiful Esselstyn family farm. It is literally postcard beautiful and bucolic. And as we record this, we're about a day away from the triathlon with Joe and wrapping up season 1 of the podcast. And you have had the really wonderful benefit of talking with just an amazing list of absolutely remarkable and inspiring guests. And as I've shared with you a number of times, we were walking last night over the property, and as I was sharing with you, it's you and your family are among the most remarkable and inspiring people I've ever met, and just a wonderful testament to the benefits and the power of eating plant strong. And last night after dinner, we had a ping pong tournament in your basement here at the farm, and
Yes, we did.
your 85-year-old mom and I were a team, and I was literally the weak link on the team. She's amazing and full of energy and super competitive. Just a wonderful testament to the way we eat and the power of sort of living this way. And you just recently shattered the 200-meter backstroke world record for your age group, 55 to 59. And so we thought it'd be kind of fun to turn the tables and talk with you about really kind of in depth about what went into that, why you did it, but also really just talk about the way you eat. We've talked now for a whole season about the way our guests eat and so forth, but I imagine people would love to hear what you eat in the course of a day. And we talk about the 7 pillars, and the 7th pillar is movement. And movement and exercise has been a cornerstone of your entire life. And so maybe we can start with you talking about your relationship with exercise and how you move.
Yeah. So I've always felt very comfortable in the athletic arena as long as I can remember, whether it was doing the Presidential Fitness Award back in, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, playing on softball teams, Little League baseball, basketball in the neighborhood. I grew up in this very idyllic neighborhood, in one of the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio. And we would have all these pickup baseball games, tennis. So I really, as a young kid growing up, I got introduced to every sport imaginable, right? I mean, swimming, biking, running, volleyball, baseball, all the ball sports, and I loved it all. But for whatever reason, I kind of gravitated towards swimming. It was one of those sports that I excelled at in high school. Really, it's funny. I was kind of a late bloomer of sorts. I was kind of short until about maybe the ninth, 10th grade, and that's when I shot up and went from probably 5'8", 5'9", up to over 6 feet, and I'm now almost 6 feet 2. And then I ended up doing a postgraduate year at a boarding school, and it was known as being one of the best swimming high schools in the country. It's called Mercersburg Academy. And I went there and kind of repeated my junior year. And that's when I needed that extra year. And that's when I kind of got decent. And I mean, I got good enough to where I had places like the University of Texas at Austin, Arizona, Tennessee, Indiana. These universities were soliciting me and offered me recruiting trips, and I visited the schools. But of course, I landed at the University of Texas at Austin for a number of reasons, and have no regrets, because if I wouldn't have gone to Texas, I wouldn't have, I don't think I would have become a professional triathlete. I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have become a firefighter, and I wouldn't be here today, talking to you.
Becoming a Division I athlete is a major accomplishment, and you did extremely well, professional triathlete. But then when you stopped and then you entered the work world and became a firefighter, that's when, for most people too, so they might have played high school sports, or they might have just been active through school, but then they enter the workforce and they stop moving. They have a commute, they sit at their desk all day, life is busy, you got to get dinner on the table, but you kept it going. So talk about why you do that, and what you do in the course of every day for your workout.
Well, I'm going to back up a little bit, because yes, I went to the University of Texas at Austin, and it was the number 1 or number 2 swimming school in the country. And I had set certain aspirations for myself. I mean, every swimmer that I know of, especially at Division I, they want to go to the Olympics, and they want to win a medal at the Olympics, right? And, my father won a gold medal in rowing in 1956. And so I kind of had high aspirations. And so I went to UT, and I went there because I was a backstroker, and the American record holder was there at the time, a guy named Clay Britt, and the world record holder in meters, a guy named Rick Carey. And I'm like, if you want to be the best, you got to go and, see how the best do it. And I just, for whatever reason, I never got as good as I wanted to. So I always had I was always kind of disappointed in where I ended with my swimming career. And I think that's one of the reasons why, frankly, I threw myself into triathlons, right? Because I had this nagging disappointment that just would not go away. And I figured, okay, if I work harder than anybody else, if I do all the little things right, then maybe I can erase some of that disappointment that I had, because, I never made it to the Olympics. I went to the Olympic trials and was a 3-time All-American, but, you'd be amazed how many swimmers that if they don't get an Olympic medal, they feel like they're a failure. And I have learned so much, just in the evolution of our mindsets and what we want, and failure and all that. But so getting back to your question, why am I still doing this day after day? I think some of it, believe it or not, goes back to, not a lot, but a little, goes back to my disappointment back in my college days. The other thing is I've fallen in love. I've fallen in love with movement, the meditation that kind of, I think, happens with me in my mind when I'm swimming, biking, running. There's a certain meditation that happens, especially when you're clicking on all cylinders. There's a certain grace and ease in these sports, especially when your form is there, when your fitness is there, and it's almost like, all right, let's see what we can do today. And I've been swimming with this master's swim program. I think we may have touched upon this a touch with J.D. Roth in episode 5. J.D. talked about how, one of the things that keeps him accountable is he has these group of guys that he has over to his house. They got to come to his house. But he has them over to his house at, whatever, 6 o'clock. And there's like a group of 10 or 12, and they've been doing it now for over a decade. And they're like best buds. Well, I got something very similar to that. Back in Austin, it's with this Rolling Wood Masters Swim Program. There's probably 10 guys and a few women, and we've been together for, some of us, almost 20 years. And, we're there for each other. These guys have become some of my, the closest friends in my life. Not only is it a bonding experience with these people that I've connected with for so many years, but it is such a wonderful way to start your day, right? I mean, when the first thing that you can do in the morning is bang out a killer workout, and it's usually only an hour, but
how many days a week?
So I usually go 5 days a week. They have 6 days a week. I usually go 5 days a week. And then after we swim, and one of the things I want you to know is I'm 56 and I go hard. I mean, I know some people, they get over a certain age and they're like, I'm just going to take it easy. I'm not going to get the heart rate up over a certain level. Don't want any beads of sweat coming down the old forehead. I'm kind of like, all right, let's bring it on. Right? Let's hurt. Right? And I do that. I do that a lot.
And then you get out of the pool. So I've been with you on one of these workouts. Then you get out of the pool and you do pull-ups and a pretty amazing core routine.
Right. So we do some medicine ball work. We do pull-ups. Yeah, we do different kind of variations of plank workouts. We're always trying to mix it up and try new stuff. But yeah, so after a swim and then doing 15 to 20 minutes of core work, pull-ups, sit-ups, man, you are ready to just dig into the day and do some damage.
So at what point did you decide, okay, being a Division I athlete wasn't enough, being a world-class professional triathlete wasn't enough, now I want to break the world record for your age group? When was that decided?
So I didn't really have these ambitions of getting the world record. I do maybe need to say that 2.5, almost 3 years ago, I did try to get the world record for 50 to 54-year-olds, but I was 54 and 6 months old. Not a good time to try and get a world record because I'm at the very end of the age group, and I missed it by a little over 3.5 seconds. And I remember hurting so bad in this effort, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm done racing. It's a whole nother level of pain beyond the workouts that I don't know if I want to go there. And when I was on the Rich Roll podcast, Rich was like, come on, you got to do it. You got to do it for everybody that's out there. And I'm like, yeah, but I had blood coming out of my eyeballs, and I had, not literally, but that's what it felt like, right? And I felt like I was breathing out of every orifice of my body. So there was some serious pain, and my legs felt like lead weights, and there was, lactic acid coursing through every molecule of my body.
So,
but yeah.
If I can back up, so when you were swimming in college, did you feel the same way, or is this sort of a function of as you're getting older, or is the pain cave the pain cave?
No. That's a really interesting question. And what I found is, so when I was in college, I was training typically 3.5 to 4 hours a day, right? Doing a lot of leg work, kick work. Just my aerobic capacity was a lot higher than it is now. Today I'm 45 minutes to an hour, right? 5 days a week. There it was 6 days a week, 3 or 4 days a week. We're doing double workouts. We're doing weights. We're doing plyometrics. We're doing just all kinds of stuff. So it's just a whole nother level of fitness. And I think that's one of the reasons why, you get up into your 50s and whatnot, and it's not easy to toe the line and then go all out. And what's interesting, and I'll share this with you, is so I did 3 efforts here in the last 2 months to get this world record, and it got easier every time as my body got used to going deep into the pain cave. It just it was and it's fun when you don't have that insane level of pain.
So you made the decision, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it at 56. Going to try and break the record.
Right. And actually, technically it was a year too late. I should have tried when I was 55. Right. But what happened is I'm there on a Sunday morning workout. A guy that usually swims with another master's program, he was there on Sunday, and his name's Jim Sauer. And he's like, Rip, you should go after that 200-meter backstroke record, that world record. I think you can get it. I'm like, really? I'm like, I haven't even thought about it. And he's like, yeah, there's a meet here in Austin, at the Austin Swim Center in about 2 weeks. Just like do it and see what happens. And the last thing I had so much on my plate. The last thing I wanted to do was, get that in my brain. But he planted the seed. I remember thinking about it that night when I was going to sleep. I thought about it the next morning when I woke up. Then, I went to a couple workouts that week, and all of a sudden, before I know it, I'm training a lot more backstroke. I'm doing a lot more race pace stuff. And I decided, all right, I'm going to do it.
And so you did it in Austin, or where'd you go for the meet?
Signed up. The meet was, coincidentally, it was literally a mile and a half from my house. It's called the Austin Swim Center. It's a 50-meter pool, and in order to get a world record, it has to be in meters, long course meters. It's the Olympic distance. It can't be in yards. And so I went to the meet. I hadn't trained in a meter pool in 2.5 years since I tried getting that one record when I was 54 in 6 months. And I went out in a 1:11. It hurt like the dickens coming back. My third 50 meters was the weak link. And then I came back pretty good the last 50 meters. So for those of you that don't I'll try and explain it. Basically, I break it up into 4 50-meter kind of laps, right, or lengths. And my last 50 meters coming home was solid. I had a lot of people cheering me on, but I missed the world record by 2 seconds. So I missed it by 2 seconds. The previous world record was 2:22.68, and I went 2:24.81, and I was like, wow, I missed it by 2 seconds, and I was like, wow, that hurt so bad. And hats off to Craig Peterson, the guy that had the world record, because I don't know if I can get it. And then, as it works, you finish that marathon, and you're like, I'll never do a marathon again, right? Or you do a 100-mile run, I'll never do that again. A week goes by, and you're like, you know what? I think I want to do that again. So I sat down. I'm like, all right, what do I got to do to get that record? I missed it by 2 seconds, and I realized, well, one, I got to give it a lot more respect. Two, I got to train in a long course meters pool, and I gotta slow down my stroke. I got to slow down my RPMs. I got to become a little bit more efficient. I got to save my legs for the last 100 meters, not use my legs so much the first 100 meters. And I got to kick some major butt on that third 50 meters, right? Because, just with adrenaline, I'm going to go out, find the first 50 meters. Second 50 meters, I got to put it into cruise mode, but still be going like race pace. And then that third 50 meters, no matter how much my body is saying, dude, slow down. This is not fun. I got to push through that, and then I got to come home my life depends on it. And so I found a swim meet that was in Houston, Texas, at a place called the Dad's Club. It was a little kind of not the greatest pool. It's like maybe 4 feet deep the whole way. But I was leaving the next day to go on a 2-week-long family vacation up into the hinterland in Wisconsin. And so I'm like, all right, if I don't do it in the next 2 weeks, I'm not going to have another chance. So I trained 10 workouts in a 50-meter pool. I did a lot more race pace stuff. I got my stroke down where it was super efficient, and I felt great. Then I drove to Houston. My son went with me, and I spent the night there at a friend's house. Woke up the next morning. The meet was at about 9:30.
What'd you have for breakfast?
So the funny thing is, I don't have anything special on race night or the night before my race or race morning. I just eat the exact same thing I always eat. I mean, it's the cleanest burning fuel out there. I don't do a dedicated carbo load or have a pasta meal or something like that. But what I had that morning was I took with me in the car my Triple Berry Rips Big Bowl cereal. I had the oat milk. I had a sliced banana, and I had some blueberries. Yeah, and that was it. And I had that maybe 2 hours before the race. And then I showed up. And the thing about this meet is, like I said, it was a rinky-dink masters meet, but it was certified for a world record. They had electronic timing at both ends of the pool. It had been certified, sanctioned. But there were only about maybe 12 people in masters, and I think that's like age 20 to age 80 that signed up for the men's 200 meter backstroke. So I was in a heat with maybe 5, 6 other people. There were some women in there, there were some men in there, and nobody was even a minute within my time. So I had nobody pushing me, but I went out and it felt good. It felt strong. I was out in a 111, the exact same time I was out in 2 weeks earlier. But luckily I didn't know that. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to come home like gangbusters. And I came home in a 110. So I was out in a 111.1, came back in a 110.3, and I ended up breaking the old record by 9/10 of a second. Jeez. Which actually, it's not that much, but I did it, right? And in order to do it, I negative split that race. And I hit that wall, and I looked at the timer, and 2:21. That's all I heard, and I was like, oh my God, I did it. It was super meaningful for me to have broken that record. It was just a validation of a lot of things in my life. The fact that I've been swimming almost nonstop for 20 plus years. The fact that I've been really watching what I eat and eating PLANTSTRONG for 32 years. It was validation on a lot of levels that the lifestyle that I'm living is paying off. And you also can't discount the mental tenacity that you need in order to be consistent day in and day out, and get up when you need to at 5 o'clock to go to these morning workouts. So I put in the work. I put in the work. I was eating the right foods. I had a swimming background that allowed me to do this, but it was a big event for me.
Best feeling in the world, though, right? So describe a bit. You're like we talked about. You're so accomplished already. You're hitting that last lap of the race, and you're entering. We joke about entering the pain cave, right? What did that feel like? And when you're in it, why and how do you push so hard?
Well, the interesting thing is, and because I'm so used to pushing my body, and I have been now for, God, probably since the age of 11, 12. There's good pain and there's bad pain, and this was good pain. The 2 weeks before was awful, like violent, evil pain. Like it's just there was nothing about it that felt good. This time, and I think it's because I had trained in that 50-meter pool. My turnover was a little bit slower, more efficient. I saved my legs. It was like, okay. 2 weeks before I was out in a 111. I came back in a 113. This time I was out in a 111. I came back in a 110. I was almost 3.5 seconds faster coming home, right? And you don't do that unless you feel good. And so, yes, it was painful, but it wasn't god-awful painful, right? It was like fun painful in some ways. But yes, in some senses, every molecule and cell in your body is saying, why are you doing this to yourself? But it's over before you know it. And it was good.
Well, congratulations. And for some people, shattering the world record is enough. But then you decided to try and widen the gap, and you went after it again, 2 weeks later?
Well, so there's so many amazing swimmers that are coming up now, and these guys, they're doing the dolphin kick underwater. It's just like a whole nother breed of swimmer. So I was like, there was going to be it's called the Zones, the regional Zones Masters swim meet at Texas A&M University. It's in an indoor 50-meter pool. The dad's club where I tried it, it was outdoors. When it's outdoors and you're doing backstroke, it's hard to kind of make sure you're swimming really straight down the lane lines because you have to rely on your peripheral vision, and sometimes the sun is in your eyes. So there's a lot of distracting factors. But at Texas A&M, it's one of the nicest pools in the country. It's like 10 feet deep the whole way. I would have competition pushing me. But of course, I'd been on vacation for 2 weeks before that. But I made a kind of promise to myself I would get in this little lake. It's called Spirit Lake, and I get in it for at least 20 minutes every day. So I warmed up for like 5 minutes. I did some race pace freestyle, and then I did usually 6 to 8 45-second bursts backstroke, and then I'd warm down. And I did that every day for 14 days that I was there. I came home, and then I had 1 week before this swim meet, and I trained in a meters pool again. And another thing that a lot of people don't know is, so to get your race face on, I did a couple of things. One is I wore a cap. You wear a cap, I've got pretty thick, bushy hair, and so that makes you feel more streamlined. I also borrowed from a friend one of these race suits. So they're these race jammer suits. Some of them cost upwards of $500, but it's amazing how you ride a little bit higher in the water with these suits. And the last thing that I did is I shaved my legs, I shaved my arms, and I clipped my chest hairs. I can't stand the way the chest hairs grow back. It's itchy and everything like that. But when you shave the hair on your body, which all swimmers do for big meets, the amount of sensitivity that you have in the water, it's so enhanced that you can feel every little nuance, on freestyle, on backstroke, breaststroke, butterfly. And it's amazing how much faster you can go. So I did all those little things, and I went to the swim meet. And the great thing was I already had the world record. So there was I wasn't putting an insane amount of pressure on myself. I had a great night's sleep the night before. And I was looking at the heat sheets, and there were like 6 heats, and every heat had 6 to 8 people in them, and they do it slowest to fastest. And so I was right next to a 32-year-old, cat who had been a 221 flat. Now, when I got the record, it was 221.68. And so I was like, wow, this good. This guy's going to push me. And he went out about a second faster than I did the first 50 meters. I was catching him the second 50 meters. I actually touched maybe about 2 or 3 tenths ahead of him. I was out in a 109. So if you remember that, previously I was out in a 111. So I was out in a 109. And then at the 150, I was about half a body length ahead of him. And then I started feeling the vacation time. And I was like, okay, this is hurting. I'm starting to die a little bit. But I held on enough to beat him and then also break my previous world record by a second. I went 220.8. And I was like, yes.
Well, amazing. I mean, and like we talked about, just an absolute testament for the way that we eat, and an inspiration for people who are eating this way too. And like you talked about, and we kind of mentioned, and you talk about in the seventh pillars movement, for that person who doesn't have the ability to push themselves the way you push yourself, does it matter? Can they still get the same benefit from doing a half an hour workout in the gym or going for a walk? Or what is your message to somebody about just movement?
Absolutely. And in the 7-Day Rescue book, I talk about how, listen, the studies are very, very crystal clear. Even 5 to 10 minutes of something where you can get your heart rate up, elevated, is better than nothing. And so I tell people, find 5 or 10 minutes, whether it's walking stairs, whether it's walking your dog, whether it is doing something as simple as going out for a bike, but anything to get that heart rate up, get the blood flowing through your body. We want to get blood flow into the hippocampus and into the brain. As you know, we just had PLANTSTRONG, and the Scherzeyes just are so adamant that exercise is so beneficial to help prevent brain shrinkage, to help prevent Alzheimer's and all that stuff. And then we look at our muscles, we look at our bones, we look at our health as far as our mental health and having a great attitude. This is the best antidepressant out there. I mean, look at yourself, right? I mean, you're out there doing that Peloton every day, like, trying to beat George Hincapie. Huh?
I do love it. I'm on the Peloton, and I also have the Peloton tread, so I'm doing the bike and the run back and forth. But yeah, it's wonderful. I'm the same way. If I don't get that workout in every day, mentally, I feel like something's missing in my day. So it's just a massive part of it.
So let me ask you, Scott, how are you feeling going into the triathlon tomorrow, right?
I feel good about legs 2 and 3. The bike and the run, I may be okay at. In the pool, I'm gonna. I'm not feeling terribly confident. I'll finish, but I don't think it's gonna be terribly graceful.
Well, it's not a pool. It's a pond.
The pond.
it's one lap, probably be about 250, 300 meters.
But you did get me a noodle this morning.
I did. I got Scott a noodle in case he needed some help. I can't say enough about finding something that you love, and if you can, find a group of people that you can do it with, and making it a part of your day. You won't regret it.
You often on the podcast ask the guests what they had to eat that day. And I think people probably are listening and wondering and very inquisitive about what you eat on a daily basis. So what did you eat today?
So far today, I started the day off with, I got about a big monster handful of frozen mango chunks. I put them in the microwave for a minute exactly. And then I got a small handful of walnuts, threw those in there. Then I got a banana, sliced that up, threw that in there. And then I got maybe a cup and a half of the Triple Berry Rips Big Bowl cereal, put that in there. And then I did the Pacific brand oat milk, overflowing, because I really like, it's amazing how the Rips Big Bowl like soaks up, right? It's like a chia pet, but it soaks up all the milk. And that was my breakfast. And just, I can't wait to wake up in the morning and have that bowl of cereal. Although typically I have it after a workout. Let me say that before I had that, my dad came in and, every day that I've been here at the farm, we've been going on bike rides. So I kicked off the morning. I met him at 7 a.m. down in the kitchen. We went out for about a 55-minute bike ride. Hilly is all get out. I got back here.
And then worth mentioning your father's 85 years old, correct? I mean, it's amazing what he's able to do.
He'll be 86 this year. Yeah. And it's fun when we're racing on downhills, and then certain stretches, we're like putting the pedal to the metal and looking at each other and, hurting. It's so awesome. Great. And then after that, I went for a little run in the fields, and then I went for a swim in the pond, and then I did 20 pull-ups, right? But, but you knock it out in an hour and a half, and then you're like feeling like a $1 million. It's like, and then it's like, okay, let's go ahead, Dave. Throw at me anything you want, and you can handle it a lot better. But then I had the Ritz Big Bowl cereal, and obviously I've been running errands. I've been getting ready for the triathlon and marking the course and putting up the finish line. And before you and I sat down right now, we just had, it was actually a hodgepodge of leftovers from dinner last night that my mother actually turned into a wonderful salad with farro and black rice and cucumbers, and I think tomatoes and broccoli, and there was some sort of a dressing on there. And then after that, we had these open-faced cucumber sandwiches with a layer of hummus, cucumbers, a little bit of onion, and then some seasoning.
Just delicious.
Simple and dynamite. And tonight, I mean, we're gonna blow it out. We got a big fire. We're gonna do corn over the fire. We're gonna do Engine 2 hamburgers. We're gonna do the Engine 2 brats. We're gonna have big monster salads. We'll probably kind of get a little wild and crazy and do some vegan s'mores. Not on the Engine 2 rescue plan, but yeah. And yeah.
Wonderful. Well, hey, so it's the just about the end of season 1. Maybe you can share some of your highlights and some of the fun parts that you enjoyed over the course of recording the first season.
Man, Scott, it's been such a thrill doing the podcast, and I want to thank you again for pushing me to kind of launch into doing a podcast. It stretched me more than I knew, and I love doing the research, going into the interviews. Obviously, interviewing my father, right? I mean, to sit there with a man who has been one of my heroes my whole life was fantastic. My mother, just love her energy and her just wildness. The Schurzeyes and everything that they're doing right now in the Alzheimer's space. J.D. Roth, it doesn't get much bigger than when it comes to a TV producer than J.D. Roth. And the fact that J.D. and his wife Chrissy have embraced the plant strong lifestyle is just fantastic. Aaron Spitz. People don't even know who Aaron Spitz is, but man, you're gonna know. And when the Game Changers hits, it's one of the epic scenes of the movie. Chuck Carroll, just running into him and having him just share his story of going from 440 plus pounds to where he is now. Adam Sudd and Adam's passion and his transformation that was just kind of over the top. Then, of course, you have these inspirational stories like Paul DeGelder, who basically was staring death in the face and came out very much scathed, but came out and he's turned that pain into purpose. And speaking of turning pain into purpose, God, Eric Adams, right? Oh my gosh.
One of my favorite episodes.
I mean, Eric is just such a special man and is doing such amazing things as the borough president, and I really hope that guy can become mayor. That would be so fantastic for all things plant-based.
And the amazing
tips. I mean, come on, Chad and his expertise in the kitchen and his passion for that. Oh my gosh! And then listen, talking to Michael Clapper about paleo and keto, and then of course Doug Lyle, paleo and keto. These guys have been in the deep in the trenches for almost 30 plus years and have such an expertise. And then, since I'm only about a stone's throw from the Appalachian Trail, can't forget Scott Jurek, right? Scott and Jenny, and what Scott did to get that record, that speed record, and we're talking about the world record in the Pain Cave, that is so inspirational for everybody.
Well, when we were recording the interview with the Shurzais, one of the things that Aisha said to you was she was talking about sleep, and she said, "I imagine you're traveling right now, and so it's getting kind of hard. You're not maybe getting the sleep you're used to, but you're working hard, and you're about to launch this thing that's going to mean a lot and going to help a lot of people. And so here we sit, one season in, and you've done that. I think it's been wonderful, and the amount of people who are tuning in is really phenomenal, and the lives that you're changing and helping to educate is wonderful. So this has been an honor to work with you. In peace, Engine 2, Plant Strong.
Peace, Engine 2, Plant Strong. You got it. Thanks, Scott. One of the most common questions that I get from athletes is how to properly fuel. If you're having a hard time starting or staying the course with a plant strong lifestyle, and you really want to master the habits and create a sustainable system around your personal healthy eating, I invite you to check out our Plant Strong meal planner. I am really pumped up on this platform. It was specifically designed and engineered to solve one very common hurdle we have heard from each and every one of you. How do you make plant-based eating easy, convenient, and delicious? We came up with the solution. We have thousands of plant-strong recipes customized to your personal preferences, integrated grocery delivery to most major metropolitan areas, the ability to create and edit shopping lists, and a team of Engine 2 coaches who are on hand to answer every question from how do you cut a mango in half to how do I begin cooking this way? No matter how silly the question, we are on hand to help. And all of this is available for $1.90 a week when you sign up for a year. We get emails from people every day saying how this has changed their life and it's made going plant-based so much easier. I hope you'll let us help you and your family fall in love with this way of eating. To learn more, sign up at mealplanner.engine2.com or click on the meal planner on our website, engine2.com. I want to thank my co-creator of the podcast, Scott Battisil of 10% Media, Lori Kordowich, producer extraordinaire and director of Engine 2 events, Amy Mackey, Engine 2's curator of creative content, Wade Clark with Bumble Media, our audio engineer, and Carrie Barrett for technical production. I have to thank my parents, Ann and Essie, who have been such guiding lights and inspirations over the years, as well as the great pioneers of this movement who have been pushing this boulder up the mountain. As they say, We are standing on the shoulders of giants. Remember, if you're digging the show, please rate us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. And with that, let me say, peace, Engine 2, keep it plant strong.